Hello again. It's that time of the evening where we're having our after-dinner speaker. I hope everybody's enjoying themselves. Looks like everybody's enjoying themselves. Enjoying yourself? Right on. I would like to introduce Andrew Banks. Andrew Banks is a Rhodes Scholar, class of 1976, although he doesn't look it at all, who hails from Florida, but whose home is in Bermuda, who serves also as a trustee of the Rhodes Trust. Normally, I would talk about Andrew's career as an investor and philanthropist. But tonight, I thought I would reveal a little bit more about the man, in particular, this creative individual we have in front of us. Andrew helped introduce and launch Legendary Pictures, which brought to us The Hangover, I hope something none of you experience tomorrow, Batman, The Dark Knight, 300, a personal favorite, Inception, and more than 30 other films. Maybe there should be 300 Rhodes Scholars. What do you think about that? That's kind of a good idea. Perhaps less judgment, he also brought us the 4 Transformer films. Sorry about that. And more recently, he and his partners brought us Kevin Spacey's House of Cards. Yeah? Yeah? All right. I'm a little more Game of Thrones, but I can see it. I can see it. And just as interestingly, Andrew introduced one of the first music apps based on the music of John Lennon, which was one of the very first apps to do it, where all of the proceeds from the app went to charity. It's actually the first one that ever did that, which was a charity on famine relief called Why Hunger, rather. And finally, his last promising characteristic for tonight's introduction is he had the very good sense to marry Dame Pamela Banks. Andrew.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening. My thanks not only to the warden, but to our chairman, Sir John Hood, our second century founder, John McCall McBain, distinguished trustees, fellow scholars. A special shout out to our wonderful registrar, to Mary. And other honored guests. I want to join in offering you a belated welcome to all 84 of the first-year scholars. You are, as Pamela and I have learned, an extraordinary group, even by the highest standards. You're spread across 30 colleges, we know, and you're reading everything from astrophysics to women's studies, everything from autonomous intelligent machines to sociology. Autonomous intelligent machines. When we were students here, I don't think they even had ATMs. As a group of first-year scholars, you're involved in everything from rowing to rugby, from basketball to skydiving, and from where I stand, you appear to be off to a very, very good start. Like the immortal North American philosopher, Jay-Z, you appear to be all about the Benjamins. And no, I do not mean the US $100 notes. I mean Benjamin Franklin, who was the Steve Jobs of the mid-1700s. He invented bifocals, which someday, if you're lucky, you'll need. The Franklin stove, so people could burn wood in the middle of their homes without burning down the homes. He proved that lightning was made out of electricity. And I can see from your half-empty glasses that you've embraced his philosophy, which he simply wrote was, "Wine is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy." Yes, you are adapting well to Oxford's autumn gloom. Why, just yesterday I overheard one of you, a rower coming back to college, saying, "I must get out of these wet clothes and into a very dry sherry." So, yes, you're off to a very, very good start indeed. And yet, deep down inside, most of you harbor the hidden fear that somehow you won't fulfill the amazing potential that everyone tells you that you possess, and the potential that you told the Rhodes Selection Committee that you possess. Some of you worry, what if my DPhil thesis isn't good enough? Some of you worry, what if I can't get a first on my exams? And almost all of you wonder, where am I going to find a great job? Well, tonight I'm going to help put some of your fears to rest by sharing with you the secret of success. It was perhaps best revealed by the celebrated anthropologist Loren Eiseley in his book, The Night Country, Reflections of a Bone-Hunting Man. Loren Eiseley lived with various Aboriginal groups in Australia, and he tells a beautiful, almost poetic tale of the coming into manhood of a young member of a community and how excited he is because he knows that as he turns about 12, 13, the secret known to all the males who rule their community is going to be revealed to him. And they take him out one night by surprise, and they're sitting around a fire under the enormous Australian black sky. And one by one, as the fire starts to burn low, the elders come closer and closer to him, and then the appointed one whispers in his ear, "There is no secret." And at first, the young men in this group are shocked, and then they're depressed. And then finally, they find this very, very liberating. So, if the rest of your life is a book, let's let the first chapter be truth. I ask you to consider being liberated by the truth that there is no great secret of success. There are, however, 5 important rules of the road that you might observe as you invest your time here, and then as you begin your life's journey after Oxford. Rule number 1, don't be too busy succeeding to become successful. All your lives, you've become expert at climbing ladders. Rung after rung, without fail, you haven't faltered. You've grabbed that next rung, pulled yourself up that ladder that society wanted you to, and you've done it beautifully. Pretty soon you're going to run out of rungs. Pretty soon you're going to be in that unwieldy position at the top of that ladder, teetering back and forth, and you have a choice. You can design and build your own ladder to get to another level. It's a bit scary, but fulfilling. Or even better, you might just try stripping the scaffolding away from your soul and take a giant leap. I promise you, you'll land just fine. Rule number 2, show me your company and I'll tell you who you are. It's a great West Indian expression. My wife and her mother taught it to me. In fact, this is a very good opportunity to introduce my wife, Dame Pamela. Would you just stand up so everybody welcome you? She's not only my beloved, but she's my teacher. I learn from her every single day. And she and her mother would always say, show me your company and I'll tell you who you are. Well, while you're here, have lots of friends. but be selective about the ones you spend the most time with. Never forget that the late Maya Angelou used to do spring cleaning every year, as she described it. Lots of people wanted to be her friend, but every year the list got a little bit shorter. Rule number 3, nice is underrated. Nice is underrated. The smartest person in your class is highly unlikely to be the most successful person in your class unless they're also one of the nicest people in your class. This is probably self-explanatory. But in case it's not, or if it doesn't translate into the English arena, I'm going to help you with one all-purpose technique. I'm going to help you learn to say the word sorry. Now, I want everybody to, on the count of 3, to say this word, please. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. No, that far too much remorse, far too much contrition was coming through. I need you to say it without any sense of real regret. The kind of thing you would say in England if you backed over somebody with your car. So let's try it one more time. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Very good. Okay. Rule number 4, it's time to transition from being a beneficiary to being a benefactor. Change the way you think of yourself. Give yourself a promotion and make that transition in the role that you're willing to play in our society for the rest of your life. I have one business partner who, above all, his life took a turn for the better when he stopped thinking of himself as an employee and started to think of himself as an employer. Sadly, or amusingly, this has translated itself into things like when we go to watch a professional basketball game, he will cheer passionately for his team through the first half. But then, because above all he regards himself as an employer, he just roots for whoever's ahead after that because he feels as an employer he should reward the best employees with his applause. It's a different approach. Rule number 5, be part of something bigger than yourself. This one's easy. You already are. You're members of the Rhodes community. I love the fact that the Indian scholars in our group have already invited classmates to come celebrate Diwali. I love the fact that the Americans are getting ready to invite friends to come celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday. You have far more support and far more supporters than you can possibly imagine, but you'll find out over time. All around the world. They're everywhere. Please do yourself a favor and stay plugged in after you leave Oxford. And in that spirit, I'd like to close by telling you about my fellow trustee, Narayana Murthy, the Indian business tycoon who founded the giant resourcing and outsourcing company called Infosys. Many of you know him or know of him. He encountered an interesting situation. His primary competitor years ago got into tremendous difficulty. They got over-leveraged, and they were in serious peril. Imagine that, your arch enemy in serious peril. His reaction? He made a beeline to the president's palace, waited for a meeting, met with the president, and said, "You must have the government rescue my competitor." The president was greatly surprised. "Why would you ask that?" He said, 3 reasons. 1, think of the hundreds of thousands of people who will be unemployed if you don't. 2nd reason, our country, India, must never be seen to fail. 3rd reason, he makes me a better competitor. That's the stuff of a true Rhodes Scholar. Not surprisingly, Mr. Murthy has been honored as one of the 25 greatest global Indian living legends, and he was India's 2013 Philanthropist of the Year. He wanted so badly to be with you tonight, but he suffered an accident and needs a bit of time for some broken bones to heal. So before you leave this evening, please join me in signing one of the Get Well cards out here that we're going to send him by FedEx tomorrow. And welcome to the Rhodes family.